Okay, guys, something a little different today. So recently, I was told by a buddy that I was talking to recently. He mentioned that there's been a lot of popularity on YouTube and like different channels doing like Freedom of Information Act requests to get police body cam footage and stuff. That a lot of fish and wildlife officers that are not wearing body cams. A lot of that stuff is also being put up on the internet. So one of those things that I have always wanted to do is get into a little bit more about what I went to actual school for and wasted all that time and money for. And that was being a specialist in marine affairs with a minor in environmental sciences. And environmental protections has always been a passion. God, how old am I? I've been an avid boater for, over 25 years now, since I'm old enough to drive. I got my license when I was like 14 to drive a boat, fishing my whole life. I love the oceans. It's why I went to school to study them. I started in marine biology and I transferred. Like, I have so much respect for the oceans and the people who work hard to maintain that there is enough ocean for everybody. And so I figured, there's this channel I found that the one he pointed out to me this is called Arrest Cam Fish and Wildlife. I'll put their link in the description. I highly recommend you check them out. It just seems like they grab body cam from particular cases. And so, yeah, it's like I figured let's watch it. And then what I'll do is, for those of you who maybe live in like a landlocked state or landlocked country, you don't know a lot about oceans, a lot about fishing regulations, a lot about creel limit, size limit, what's a slot, what's not slot, what's cap, like getting all that stuff. I'll break it down, and I'll kind of explain a lot in the layman's terms of what rule they're breaking, why the rule matters, the science behind why the rule is there, and I figure it can be fun. So let's get into it.
If you like fish and wildlife content, please consider subscribing. On January 17th, 2025, officers with Florida Fish and Wildlife were on patrol when they observed a fishing vessel fail to adhere to a no-wake zone.
Hey, guys!
Okay, so for the non-boaters, no-wake zone is basically any section of buoyed off or signaged off area of open water that, due to its proximity to certain structures, you cannot maintain your boat at a certain speed, as such that the boat would be pushing the water out of the front of it, in which that creates waves. So, like you saw the boat that the officer is on is pushing out that white water. It's creating a wake. So the wake is the waves behind the boat that is being pushed from the displacement of the water. In very simple terms, it's technically more specific than that. Anything above that is a violation of a no-wake zone and is ticketable in basically every state. Some states are more anal about it than others, and you could actually get a summons to appear, which is technically like an arrest, but they're not arresting you. They're not taking you off the boat. They're just giving you a ticket and saying, like, you need to show up to court. Functionally speaking, you're under arrest. And if you don't show up, then they put a bench warrant out for you, and then they'll go pick you up. So yeah, it's a kind of a dumb rule, but it's also for safety. I mean, there could be divers in the area. If there's sandbars or other structures, excessive uses of wakes can erode those, especially if they're man-made, and it costs millions and millions of dollars to repair. So you could argue it's a dumb law, but it's also not one that's that hard to actually not break.
Guys, we're gonna come up beside you, okay? You know why we're talking to you right now? That's correct.
See, he knew it.
Hang tight there for a second. Appreciate it. All right, guys. Alright, so I'm Officer Booth at FWC. The reason we stopped you is because it's a idle speed zone all the way through here, right? No, you guys were on plane, correct?
Right.
Alright. Is it your boat, sir?
Yes.
Do you have your license and registration for the vessel?
I don't know if she's going to be doing a safety inspection while she's here. This looks like it's more than 17 foot, so it's probably going to need at least 2 fire extinguishers and a throwable.
Yeah, well...
Now, let me see. I think I might have them in my vehicle. The registration and stuff.
Okay.
The registration can be run, but it takes forever with FWC.
Just out to the...
Just locally around Apollo Beach.
Around Apollo?
Yeah.
We're just giving him a boat ride, basically.
Did you guys catch anything?
No,
No?
just out.
A lot of fishing rods
Any
on the back
guns or
for someone who
anything
wasn't
in
fishing.
there?
No, I
No.
got a letter.
Those are not flash.
Alright, sir. I'm going to check your coolers real quick, and we're going to give you a warning for this, okay? As long as you have 2 life jackets on board. You want to pop this open for me?
Yeah, so the life jackets, obviously you need a life jacket for every person on board. The kid's already wearing theirs. Kid always needs to have theirs on. Adults can choose to have them off, but they need to be accessible. So you can't have them like locked in a hatch underneath a chair. That's ticketable. She looks like she's being pretty nice. She's given a warning. That's officer discretion. She can decide to give warnings or give tickets. She's giving a warning for going too fast in a no-wake zone. That's reasonable. They said they don't have anything. Legally, she's allowed to check the coolers, regardless of what they say, during this stop. Even though technically this is not a resource inspection per se, because the reason she stopped them is for a safety violation for ignoring the no-wake zone. Basically, any state, the Fish and Wildlife, especially if you get to the states who care a ton about their fish and wildlife, like Maine and Florida, have all sorts of allowances when it comes to inspecting vehicles. Like, even though if technically the vehicle is their private vehicle, she's allowed to just say, hey, I'm going to check all your coolers and hatches and cubbies. And she can. Like, there's no, you need a warrant, there's no XYZ. Like, she doesn't even technically need probable cause. I mean, you could argue that them having a bunch of fishing rods on the back constitutes probable cause for them being fishing, and I would agree with that, but I'm not a lawyer. But at least as far as she's concerned, like, she's allowed to just check for shits and gigs if she feels the need to. If she saw something that she thought they were lying or they seemed squirrely, she could just check. It's totally allowed.
It's
Yep. Cooler.
Oh, the cooler?
Yeah.
Oh.
Nothing. Wow. Anything in that one up there? Want to show it to me?
A lot of these, what, at least 6 spinning reels in the back? It looks almost like a charter rig.
Yes.
Drink.
Nothing in this live ball back here?
No, that was the bait well there.
There you go.
Wait, no.
There.
Sweet, under the buckets. Over here. Anything in there?
No.
Sounds like ice to me. Why's he fiddling? Just pick the bucket up. Why are you fiddling?
And this here.
And what's that?
He's trying to body block. Yep.
Looks like fish to me, buddy.
So now what you've done now is you've lied to an officer. FWC, so basically any fish and wildlife in almost any state, function as like peace officers. So they can arrest you for non-fish and wildlife related things. So the same rules apply to them 99% of the time. At least in every more than common, reasonable way. So like if they can pull you over for speeding, they can pull you over for running stop sign, that kind of thing. But also, you can't lie to them. Like, you can't just start perjuring yourself in front of them. That's not good. It's the same thing like why you can't lie to police. Like, they could get you in trouble for that. So he clearly lied. He very distinctly said, like, no, we were just going out for a drive. No fish. He clearly has a bucket full of fish. And he went out of his way, if you saw, he went out of his way to not let her see the bucket. Like, it took him like a minute to lift an empty pail. And then he picked it up, put it, the one he was holding in front of her so that she couldn't see it, and then immediately tried to open a different thing so that she couldn't see into the bucket, but she saw over his arm and she saw that there's fish in it, and now she's, immediately you can hear in her voice, any semblance of like, oh, I'll just give you a warning, that goes out the door the second you start lying to cops. Like, whether they're regular cops or FWC, they don't like being lied to. You've just created a ton of paperwork now, and now she gets to hit you with as many different things as she wants, which is probably going to come down to whatever's in the bucket. It's looking like speckled trout. But I'm not 100% familiar with the goldfish. I'm more northeastern.
So when I asked if there was fish on board, what'd you tell me?
Yeah, she's pissed.
Yeah, you did.
One, two. Someone get the count from Sesame Street. That's short.
Too fishy here. Too fishy here.
Oh, it might
You're
be
way
good.
over. You're under.
That's short. At least 3 of these are short. That's short. How many do they fucking have? Jesus.
Like 3 misdemeanors so far.
Yeah.
Oh, don't forget interference.
Yeah. Because they lied.
I'm gonna check the rest of the boat.
Yeah. Now she's gonna
Fishing
now
license.
she's gonna rip it
I'm
apart.
gonna check those. Sir, I'm gonna need to see your ID as well.
You got my ID.
I got yours. I'm talking about the other gentleman.
Yeah. There's your life jackets, your throwables, the standard safety stuff. I still haven't seen a fire extinguisher. Maybe I missed
Sir,
it.
do you have your driver's license?
I do.
Thank you.
Look at that pile of fish on the ground. It's a damn shame is what it is. Because they're all dead. You can't throw them
We got
back.
a crab trap right there.
Yeah, we're good. We're neutral.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna check the rest of the boat. Up here. Is this your fishing license?
Yeah.
Do you have your fishing license?
I'm 71.
71. You know, if you're 71, you still can't poach.
Yeah. Poaching is illegal regardless of age, believe it or not.
Please. Have it back up over here.
The toilet almost looks like one of the portable toilets. Because
Thank you.
this boat doesn't have an internal thing get pumped out. And then tackle box. While she's tearing their stuff apart, a big thing to keep in mind, right, is like this is taking place in Florida relatively recently. They've had huge issues with the population of a lot of their sport fish, where they've been massively under the number that the Fish and Wildlife have expected because of overfishing and just diseases and commercial everything. Like there's been a ton of stuff going on. So
Am I
a lot
gonna
of
find
these
anything else on
fish,
this boat that's illegal? Or
a
should
lot
not
of
be
these
on
fish
here?
are being severely
Am I gonna find
overdrawn,
anything else on this boat?
and the state has reacted with very severe penalties and fines, and the Fish and Wildlife officers take it extremely seriously because they recognize that if the bleeding isn't staunched, so to speak, it could cascade into a population collapse, which would then functionally destroy the fishery of Florida, which is a huge part of the tourism sector, which would destroy the funding of Florida as a whole. Many people go for the beaches and the fishing, and Disney. A lot of these look short.
You want half a finger?
Yeah, because the way it works is it comes down to creel limit, so how many you can take per day, times the number of valid licenses. That kid probably doesn't have a valid license. He doesn't look like he's over 13. So it's just the 2 people. And I think it's like 3 a person for speckled. Unless those are sea run. Dude, some of them are so young they don't even have their spots yet.
When was the last time you guys went to jail?
Went to jail.
Yeah.
That's about to change.
Sir, when was the last time you got arrested?
The last time I got arrested was probably about 8 or 9 years ago.
Okay.
I wasn't found guilty.
Okay.
We're busting out the tape measure. So now every fish has different rules for measurements. So a lot of times it's like tip of the nose to tip of the tail. But in the rare exceptions where fish have like barbels, like things coming off their lips, a lot of times those aren't counted. Black sea bass, for instance, have a tendril on the top of their tail fin that goes like an extra 2 inches. You're told to measure below the tendril, so you can't use that as like to squeeze out an extra 2 inches of length. These are nose to tip fish, but a lot of them have been in the ice so long that they're bent. So I hope she's calculating for that. Then again, I can't say I pity these people. I don't mind if they get the extra 2 or 3 tickets, because just on quantity alone, they've got 2 tickets. And then, honestly, depending on the state and depending on the officer, it's legal. They're allowed to seize your boat. They can seize your tackle. They can arrest you. Technically speaking, they could take his truck if he towed the boat in, because it's an accessory to the committing of a crime. And then a lot of that stuff can either get auctioned off, or they make you basically buy it back. Like they impound everything, make you buy it all back. A lot of times when they charge you for the court stuff, they'll add extra fees to basically pay the state for if the state does breeding of certain
legally
fish.
sized, the rest are short, and they're over the back limit.
Jeez, two legals, the
Yeah.
rest illegals. That's
Have
not
either
even
of you guys
trying.
gotten in trouble with FWC before?
No.
No.
We got, I mean, we're got a good bill of health.
A good what?
A bill of health, I mean, no problems, no
I doubt
trouble, no, you know,
Until now.
until now.
that. You got a
You haven't
couple
been
big
caught
ones.
before.
Right. Well, no, I was meaning, you know, for a record.
Yeah. Record. Well, now you're gonna have a record.
You have a hell of a record.
Yeah, now
You
you're
should
gonna
take
have
it in
one.
jail for this.
There's one thing we don't tolerate. If you would have been straight with me from the beginning, we have short ones. Probably wouldn't have been that big of a deal. But the fact that you lied and then you try to cover it up in front of me over there,
Yeah.
now we have an issue.
Yes, ma'am.
Now
I
I'm hitting you.
understand.
Now I'm hitting you with everything.
He gets no
I could
leniency
take you to jail
now.
right now,
I understand that.
and it's a bad example to set.
You're right. You're right.
Now another thing that could happen here actually is that guy who was speaking said it's his boat and he has the boating license. Assuming the other adult on the boat doesn't have a valid boater's license and they do choose to arrest the captain because he's the captain of the vessel and he is going to get hit with the poaching. Honestly, they'll probably ticket both of them because they're both compliant. But assuming they put it all on the guy who was obstructing and they do decide to arrest him, now you have a boat that can no longer be operated, right? So now the whole boat, you need to call another boat. That guy needs to basically tow this boat to the dock. You have to hope this guy knows how to put the boat on the trailer or hire someone to do it. If they can't do it, then it's just an abandoned vessel. So you have abandoned vessel rules. Like the amount of paperwork and the amount of nonsense, like just bullshit that these guys have caused by not just Googling on their phone, like, how many trout can I take a day? And they've cost themselves thousands of dollars and hours of pain and suffering, and now they're being basically finger wagged by the fish police, and they need to sit there and take it because they know they did something wrong, all of which could have been avoided.
So the citations you guys are going to get, they're all going to be for court appearances, okay?
So they're
set
not
the same
taking
court
them in.
date on them. She's going to tentatively set a court date within about 30 days, all right? You'll get notifications in probably about a week about it. If you don't, there's going to be a phone number at the bottom of the citation for you to call, okay? If you do not show up to court, warrant's going to be issued for your arrest,
warrant.
okay? All right, so the citations you're going to be getting, first one is going to be interference with an FWC
Yeah, because
officer.
they lied and they blocked
Alright.
her.
Okay.
It's because you guys lied. All right. Next
do
one's
that.
going to be for undersize sea trout, and then over the bag limit. What else? Anything else? Nope. Those, and then you'll be receiving civil citations, which are just uniform boating citations for blowing the slow speed zone, not having the registration on board, and then improper display of your registration numbers.
Yeah.
All right.
If that's what they do and they don't do anything else to ruin it, they got off so lucky. For example, when I was working with I was trying to get a job with the Fish and Wildlife Service of my state up in the north. In my state, when you're doing that stuff, they only ever had part-time positions. I couldn't get in full-time. They don't ticket based on the offense. They ticket based on the quantity. So these guys are getting a ticket for having too many fish and having fish that are undersized. In my state, you get a ticket per fish undersized, per fish over limit, and they stack. So you'll get the ticket for having, let's say you have 6, you're allowed 3, you have 9, and then 8 of those are undersized. You get the 2 undersized tickets for the 2 that are within your 3, and then everyone over, you get the over ticket and the size ticket times 6, so 12, so 14 to 16 tickets, depending on how pissy the officer is that day. Before, what she said here, she took away her warning. She's not even giving them a warning for the improper display of registration and for the no wake zone. Now he's saying it's another citation, it's a ticket, because she took away all her leniency, and she has the discretion to do that because they lied to her. So if they were just honest about it, they at least could have saved on the $200 fuck you ticket for no wake zone and registration numbers and saved a little money, I guess. But honestly, if you ask me, she's being very light-handed with, maybe it's because there's a kid there and she doesn't want to like lambast them in front of their grandkid or whatever, or son. But me personally, this is way too light a sentence. And that's not me being like, oh, angry. It's just way too light a sentence. Because you got to take into effect the severity of what they're doing. So a little background. The formula that all states use for determining how you can catch fish, how many fish you can catch, and what size they need to be, it's all factored off of something called the maximum sustainable yield. So I'll put a graph up, editing me, put a graph up. And so the maximum sustainable yield says that there's a certain amount of fish in a population, in an area that can be sustained by that area healthily, right? With accounting for natural death, predation, weather, not other nonsense, right? Now, you can't make anything off of that because that isn't a perfect world scenario, right, where nothing happens. But if that's a perfect world scenario and you can't account for how many humans are in the area taking a random amount of fish, because it's not like it's not like there's always going to be a cop there watching everybody fish every fish out of the ocean. So the governments will use something called the maximal sustainable yield, MSY, which is slightly lower on the sustainability curve, and then they base it off of that. That's a little low. It's not at the tip of the curve. It's kind of like at like an angle you'll see on the picture. That is why it can account for like a little bit of people taking it, like the poaching that does happen that we don't catch, that kind of thing. So since a lot of Florida's populations are already in the decline because the formulas they set for the maximal sustainable yield in the last 20 years did not account for how heavy commercial fishing was happening, plus climate change and other factors, diseases and whatnot, as well as the increase in private fishing because people don't have money. So they're like, what's cheap? Going and catching a fish for basically free or the cost of digging a worm out of my backyard, or buying salmon $13 a pound at the supermarket, right? Obviously fishing is cheaper, especially if you're over 65, the license is free. So you can get away, it's economically sustainable to increase, it naturally increases the fishing pressures. But they didn't adjust a lot of the sizes right away because they didn't want to negatively impact the economy. As a result of this, you get people like this who, that was already a struggling system, and now here they are taking fish that are so undersized, they might not have even had a breeding cycle yet, right? That one of them didn't even have spots. So it is probably not even sexually mature, and it's dead now. They put it in an ice bucket. So those fish are 100% dead. They've been reduced from the population. They cannot breed anymore. If they had eggs, the eggs can't be laid and fertilized. And so that is a cascading negative effect for having so many over the limit. That's why the limit's there. Yeah, is it do I like the government telling me what I can and can't do? Absolutely not. Fuck the government. That being said, scientifically, and from someone who's been on the water my entire life, I have watched local populations plummet to nothing in my area because there were fish that the government considered like trash fish, so they didn't set any regulations. And then because there was no regulation set on them, I have gone to the public pier and I have seen people with trash cans, with a big black trash bag, filling the trash bag because there's no limit. Not because they need all those fish, they're not that hungry. It's because they're going to go sell them illegally or going to give them to a friend or going to clean them up and they'll do whatever. There are restaurants that it's not legal, but there are restaurants where, like Chinese food restaurants, where you can go and you can be like, hey, I got some fish, you know, and then legally they can't give you money because you don't have a license to sell, but they can take them, you know, as a friend. You're giving your friend who happens to own a Chinese restaurant some fish, and then because you're friends, they'll give you a bunch of 100% off coupons to eat at the Chinese restaurant, you know? Like, it's a very under the table, you know? And so it's like very barter style, which also isn't legal necessarily. Like that fish can't be used at the restaurant because it's not of a certain quality. However, prove it, right? Like, that's the end of the day. There's not enough inspectors and there's not enough FWC people to get all that stuff thing. So all that happening with the maximal sustainable yield issue is what causes population collapses, which is what the FWC is supposed to be here to prevent. Which is why me personally, as much as I hate the idea, I think the government should have been much harsher here. I think they should have gotten 16 to 18 citations each in my area. Each one would have been over $200. Like a local fish that in my area is called a porgy, or a scup if you're being technical. In my area, if you get a scup over the limit, $135 ticket, right? And you're allowed, I want to say 25 at this time. Not counting certain things like if you're a charter boat or whatever. And they have to be over 11 inches. So if I catch 26, $135 fine, and they take that 26th fish. If I got 50, that's 25 $135 fines, then a fine for being over the limit. and then they take all 25 fish. So I don't get the fish. Like, I lose out in every possible way. And honestly, if you have that many citations in my area, you're going to jail, and they're taking the boat. And your truck, and your fishing rod, and your tackle box, and your dignity, and your sanity, and your fucking house, if they hate you enough.
Improper display. You're supposed to have a 2-inch spacing between the end of FL, the start of the numbers, the end of your numbers, and then your last 2 letters.
I never was aware of that.
It's listed on your registration.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
written on
Yep.
the paper,
Like I
dude.
said, when I got the boat, that's how I did it, and I've been inspected before, and they never mentioned anything, so I didn't know.
We turn into sticklers when people start lying to us.
As they should.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
It's
I don't take it
Googleable.
personally.
It's not hidden
But I'm gonna get-
information.
we-
Just
we
like a
get
car.
very,
You have
very
rules
technical.
you have to follow.
I can understand.
Yeah. Do you have a Type 4 throwable on board?
A lot.
A Type 4 throwable looks like a little seat cushion with handles on it.
Like a life ring. The thing you're thinking of, like the traditional Titanic life ring. Type 4 throwable. They're hard as fuck, too. They'll hurt if you get hit with one. You're supposed to throw them in front of people who are
Because
doing
there's not one immediately available on deck, that could be another $143 citation because of the improper carriage requirement.
it. Yeah, because if that kid went overboard and you had it, see how they're having to dig?
Yep. So it's required to be out and on deck.
Yeah. Oh, they have a more modified version of a Type 4.
Whether
That's
that
not
gets
the
written or
classic
not is going to be
version.
up to Officer Booth.
And then he puts it back in the box.
Do you have a child-sized life jacket on board?
The kid's supposed to be wearing it. Unless he's over 13. His face is blurred. I can't tell. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, though. Then again, maybe the 13 thing is just my area. Maybe Florida is more lenient. They are a lenient state.
Can I see that, please?
Got to make sure it's not expired, not torn, not ripped. 30.
How much you weigh, buddy?
About
60 pounds? Okay. Alright, so that's not the correct size.
Yeah, it's too small a life jacket. It can't support 60 pounds.
What does that go up to?
It's 30 to 50 pounds.
Yeah, you got to go one bracket up. They get the orange one.
What is the bag limit on trout?
Are you serious?
Seriously?
Seriously, they change frequently.
No, they don't.
No?
Do you have a cell phone?
Yeah, I do.
Is it connected to the internet?
This guy's getting
That'd
snotty.
be a really good
I
thing
love
for you
it.
to look up right now.
Fucking Google it,
So
idiot.
pretty much every marina, you can get a little pamphlet for fish rules, right? You can look online.
Florida
There's
actually
like
has an
multiple
app.
applications for it.
So I'm giving you
I
a
can't read
citation for blowing the speed zone, right?
Yeah.
So that's a $140 citation there. I'm also charging you for over the bag limit, undersized,
Yeah.
and I did the same for you as well. And I charge you both for interference.
Okay.
Okay. Do we have any questions about that? All right. So I have to have you sign each of these copies of George.
What's going to be the fine for them? Or
They'll set up a court date, and the judge will decide that part.
we'll have to.
The
go
judge
to
could
what-
decide to be
Yeah, they'll
lenient with
contact
the
you like
numbers, I
at the number at the
suppose.
bottom. Call to set up a
Me
court date with
personally,
them.
I think it should be a
And
flat
then,
number.
just make sure
I don't
you
think
do
you
that,
should.
and I'll
I
do
don't
it
think you
this
should be allowed
Okay.
to sympathy
All right.
plea the judge for less money.
Fine.
Personally, I think that's just asking for people to tell sob
But
stories
you
to try to get
understand
off
that
of
you're gonna
like
get it taken
like
care of, okay?
if they cared, they would have thought about
Where I
it before they
sign it.
committed
Right
all
over
these
here.
very. I mean, these are basic crimes, right? Like you can't accidentally do
Okay,
it.
and
It's like you
Steven, the
just
same
do it.
thing
Like
for
check. It
you.
takes 30
Contact that number at
seconds.
the bottom. They'll set up a court date for you. And do you understand the charges today?
Yeah, I do, but
Okay.
I don't know where I interfered, but whatever.
Oh, you're an adult, and when I asked when there was fish on the boat, you
Yeah,
could have said
you didn't
yes,
say. Yeah,
correct?
you didn't say
Okay.
that they were fishing.
Glad we're on the same page. All right, and this is your citation for the blowing the speed zone. If you can just sign there, okay?
And for what
I'll
it's
give you guys
worth for anyone
copies of this so
watching,
you have all that
signing this is not an admission of guilt. It's just an acknowledgement that they received
And
it
these
and
are
they're
your
going to show
guys'
up to court.
IDs and copies.
Because now, if they don't show up to
Okay.
court, they can have a warrant
Thank
issued for
you.
their arrest.
Give that to you.
That's a perfect
Okay.
example. Let me back
And
up.
copies.
See this guy in the background? That's what you're supposed to be doing through a no-wake zone. See how his boat is barely up in the front,
Okay.
and there's no big white waves. It's just the disturbance from the propeller. That's the correct way to be driving. They
Thank
were not
you.
doing that. They were going way too fast.
Give that to you.
It's very obvious when you're making a wake
Well,
because you
I
can
hope you
see
guys
it
have a better
against the outline of
day.
the flat ocean.
Did I get a copy?
Yep, they're all in
I
there.
got
All your
all your
guys'
copies.
copies are in there, okay? And make sure you call that number on the bottom to set up your court date. Okay?
Well, we'll probably have to call first thing Monday morning. Right?
Yep. I'll call in and just tell them what happened. They might say call back in a couple of days because I have to mail those out. So, all right. Any questions before we pull away?
ma'am.
All right. Have a good one, guys.
George, the operator of the vessel, was cited for failure to adhere to a no-wake zone. George and the other male, Stephen, were both charged with 3 misdemeanors, one for undersized trout, one for being over the bag limit, and one for interfering with a Florida Fish and Wildlife officer. Both were required to appear to court in person, and both entered a misdemeanor intervention program, and their cases are currently closed. If you like this video...
I wish he would have said what they got. I mean, I don't know if the misdemeanor prevention or deferment program is like a get out of fine thing because they didn't have a criminal record. Me personally, I don't think this should be eligible for that because the barrier to commit the offense is so low, it's unreasonable. Like, to get the fishing license, you need to go onto the FWC website or like the DEP website or the DEP website or the Department of Wildlife website, like depending on what state you are. And on that page is a downloadable PDF onto mobile or desktop of that year's fishing regulations. You would have needed to see it to get the fishing license that they both had. So they saw it, ignored it, broke the law, and at that point you're just being negligent. I don't think that should be deferrable personally, given the severity of what they had, right? They had so many over the limit. Again, like I said, maybe it's because it's my perspective, right? Because of where I'm from and the rules that I'm familiar with. Only getting, I mean, yeah, she doubled up the fines on each adult, so really it's twice as many fines, and then the captain got the extra for failure to abide by the wake zone. But like, and maybe I'm being mean. Maybe it's because I'm being like, maybe I'm a mean person. But in the way I'm raised, the way I do things, I'm giving you a fine for the improper display of the registration. That's also right there. When you register the vehicle, it's right there on the paper. It's like you rip off the little bottom part, like when you get a toll in the mail, and then the top says everything you need to do, and it comes with stickers. And then you put the stickers on exactly the way the paper says, and you're good. It's easy. And then you just put new stickers on every year. That's easy. Not having the fucking life thing accessible, common sense, right? If I'm drowning, the life thing doesn't help me if it's buried under 8 feet of shit in the front of the boat and not throwable to me, the guy drowning. When you're drowning, you only have a couple of seconds, right? If water gets in your lungs and you pass out, and you're not wearing a life vest, you sink. And then it doesn't matter what they throw at you. You're unconscious and you can't grab it, right? So it's like, these are common sense things. These should have all been individual citations on top of the fish citations. And like I said, personally, I think it should have been citation per fish. And just like 135, rack it up. And yeah, you want to say, oh, well, they got $3,000 worth of citations. That's not fair. Counter argument. Let's see if I could find it. There was a scene where she turns, I think it was before. There's a scene where she's on the boat. Yeah, it's right here. So you see this? You see this, right here. This is a fish finder / GPS. This looks like, and I may be wrong, because it's an angle, maybe I can get a better picture. It looks like a Garmin, like one of the medium end one. Yeah, this looks like a Garmin, and you can see it's a GPS, and it's attached to the wiring of it. It's embedded into the center console, and it's attached out, running through the connectors in the back of the boat, so that it also functions as a sonar and a fish finder. It's multi-purpose. This alone will cost you $900 to $1,100 new at like a Cabela's on like a sale weekend. And that's assuming you are enough of an understanding person to install it yourself and connect it to everything, and you don't pay them to install it, right? That's just specifically this little screen, right? That is, oh, there's a fire extinguisher, by the way, I found it. Okay, so they don't get hit for that one. And then that's this little screen. Each of these reels, just looking at them, I can't tell. It's too blurry for me to tell the Rod Blank brand. But if you assume these reels are standard middle-of-the-road Penn spinning reels, they all look like at least Penn 1500 size, like in terms of cost. $80, $90 reels a pop, right? And there's 4 of them. So it's like you're racking up. You got $1,500 right here. That tackle box and all the shit that was in it, another $500 worth of gear. They clearly have the money. He said he bought the boat. The boat wasn't a gift. He paid for the boat. He paid for the registration. He paid for the taxes. He pays for the transfer. He pays for the luxury taxes. He pays for storage fees. He pays to winterize. He pays for the engine. He pays for mechanics. He pays for maintenance. He pays for gas. Clearly, he's got money. So fuck it. $3,000. Stop taking my fish. Stop taking fish. It's not, I'm trying to be objective, but I'm upset because I'm very passionate about this. It's not rocket science to say, hey, this is against the rules. Even if I don't understand the rules, let's not break them, certainly not in front of my kid and or grandson, and teach him that, oh yeah, let's just break all the rules that don't suit us because we want more fish for some arbitrary reason. They're not going to eat 14 trout in one sitting. They're probably going to end up throwing it in the freezer or selling it or whatever, and they are short-sighted and they're thinking about themselves. And that's a bad example to set. And I think someone setting that example should be held to the highest extent of the law in terms of when you're hitting them, right? Like maybe the laws of Florida, like I said previously, maybe they're different than my state. They don't function where you can hit someone per fish. Maybe that's not allowed. However, it's still her discretion not to hit him for the registration. It's still her discretion not to hit him for the throwable. You know, these are still safety issues that if a Coast Guard was doing this inspection would more than likely give him a citation for it if they were doing a safety inspection as opposed to a resource inspection. I think they were due for at least 2 more misdemeanors. Like, yeah, I'm not saying it's 100% necessary to fucking throw them in cuffs and tow the boat in like you're going to jail. That's excessive because at the end of the day, they can plead ignorance and maybe they are just genuinely fucking stupid. Maybe. But it just doesn't sit right with me personally. But yeah, I mean, that's the video. It's like this. You could tell I like these because I'm very passionate. I'm very into it. I'm very looking at all the details. I want to go to Florida. Honestly, I want to move to Florida, but I want to live in Florida. I want to fish. I want to do all this stuff. I want there to be something for me when I get there. And when I have a family and when I have people, I want there to be something for them too, right? Because when you get too many guys like this, 5 to 10, maybe 15 years later, there's just going to be no more trout. And then I get to tell stories to my kid. Once upon a time, there was this fish called a trout. You'll never see one in your life. And you'll never get the experience of your grandpa bringing you out on the boat and teaching you to fish and bringing in a big fish. And then you get to bring it home. You get to eat it. You get to stuff it. You get to make whatever. You don't get that experience anymore. Because jerk-off number 1 and jerk-off number 2 decided those rules don't apply to them. Because, it's just irritates. It's irritating, I should say. It irritates me. And so it's just like when I see stuff like that, that's when I lose a lot of my sympathy. Like there's times when someone genuinely doesn't know, you know, but this doesn't seem like one of them. This seemed like the fact that they lied. They had it on a bucket under a bucket. He tried to body block it. They both lied about whether there was fish on the boat until hoping that she wouldn't notice. Like this is telltale. We knew we fucked up. We didn't think we'd get caught. Like they were probably going in. They were done for the day. They thought they got away with it. But then they were running, so they got a little too fast to get home to not be caught with the fish. They ran the wake, and then they got dinged for it. And so that's almost the karma of the situation. But yeah, it's like this was actually legitimately very fun to watch. Like I said, make sure you I'll put his link in the description. Make sure you go subscribe to this guy. He's got a ton on there. I'll see if maybe I can't grab one of my other friends who we did marine affairs together or some marine biology, something like that, and see if we can't grab, because these are like another one of these, because these are actually very fun to watch. But the other thing is like this is the most like mundane fish and wildlife interaction I've ever seen. Fish and wildlife in my state are armed. They shoot people. People try to shoot them. Like if you're deer hunting and they catch you deer poaching, they'll just try to kill you so that you don't catch them deer poaching. It's a risky ass job because a lot of times you're out in the woods with like you and one other guy and they got a high-powered rifle, and if you're lucky you've got a pistol, and you better hope they are a bad shot, otherwise you can end up dead before you even notice that they noticed you. So it's like they can get very dramatic. So I wonder if there's more dramatic ones that highlight the dichotomy, the discrepancy of these individual calls between like negligence and like actual legitimate evil, in my opinion. But yeah, I'll have to keep my eye out. But yeah, like I said, if you enjoy this, make sure to let me know in the comments. I love talking about stuff like this. So if you have questions about resource management, questions about different marine affairs, marine specializations, how those rules are applied, details about economic sustainable yield, that kind of thing, be sure to ask. If I see the comment, I'll be sure to let you know. And then, hey, have a good day.